I'm very honored to have you here and that you all came out in the rain. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Carpenter. I am also known as the Movie Man. I have been a film historian professionally for the last 16 years, where I've been hosting lecture sessions, and showing these films. Now, these films that I've now transferred onto DVD come from my actual film collection, of which I have, believe it or not, 400,000 of. And since my whole purpose, I feel, is to have these films not just be locked away in the vaults. This is creativity at its highest point. This is entertainment, but also as a film historian, of course now I study the history of film. But being different and why I have this notoriety is because I also study the history of America and why these films were made and for the viewers in the first place, back when they initially were produced and released to theaters, and what these films meant to the people sitting in the audiences at the time. Now, I am dedicating this show to, I really had the honor of meeting a fellow who gave me the greatest compliment of my lifetime, who I will never forget. His name was Myron Waldman. Myron Waldman was the last at that time, unfortunately he's passed on now, but Myron Waldman was the last living of the Max Fleischer, Betty Boop animators, who actually made her work live. He was the greatest because, as an artist, he was the only animator who worked for Max Fleischer who actually went to art school. And due to, now I've saved his greatest achievement, A Language All My Own, for the last cartoon that I show in this program of mine today. A Language of All My Own really shows Betty Boop at her high point. She sings, she dances, she wiggles, but what he did was to be politically correct and artistically correct. Now the film takes place in Japan. So he actually did what no other animator at the time would even think of doing. He went and researched the Japanese cultures, the Japanese people, not to offend them with his animation. And that's why this film in particular is so perfect. Now, I don't know how many of you remember the cartoon character Pudgy, the little dog that Betty Boop had?
Yeah.
Well, he's the one who created that counterpart for Betty Boop to have, Pudgy the dog. Look that up on Google. And in the cartoon, Happy You, Marry Me, see, the Fleischer animators were such a close family that in the Betty Boop cartoon, Happy You, Marry Me, as an inside joke, Mae Questel referred to the dog that runs away, the cat or dog who runs away in that cartoon, as Myron. So the mama cat is always searching for her little baby, going, Myron! A very personal inside thing that even when I first saw the cartoon as a junior high school kid, I never knew this, but this showed the bond and the closeness of the inside depth of the animators at the Max Fleischer Company. But so let me tell you about today. Today I'm showing this film, these cartoons, because they really are time capsules of the era that they were released for. Now, you're going to notice that these cartoons are very, very New York themed. Very New York themed. They were, the fact the Fleischer Animation Studio was on the Upper West Side, like West 43rd Street. I believe, I could be wrong on the street, but that's where all these cartoons were shot. And all the other animation cartoons, Van Buren, all of that, they were all in that area. Now I've got a letter. I received a letter, and I'm going to read it to you, or at least part of it to you. It was, Dear John, please leave my wife alone, or I'll have to. Oh, wrong letter. No, just joking, just joking, just joking. Okay, this letter I got from California. The shows that I'm doing at the Levittown Public Library have become very, very popular. Most libraries are even closing down doing their classic film programs. But the Levittown is doing this because we have such notoriety, and I'm showing films in a total neighborhood movie house feeling and feel, because I'm showing shorts that are similarly themed when I show a feature. Now, and most of those films are not the films, such as these cartoons, that you can see so easily anywhere else in a public venue. So that's why this is the library to come to. Little hint, right, Hitomi? Okay, little plug. So he wanted me to let all of you know. Now, these cartoons were released by Paramount. Paramount was a very pre-code, which translates before there was a decency code in Hollywood. And they very much had very risque features for adults. Now, these cartoons, you must realize, were not only made for kids. They really were themed and focused for adults, because the adults would come to the evening shows. There was no TV, there was no DVDs, there was no VHSs, there was motion pictures. And this is where everyone would go. And in the evening, it would basically be the adults going. So you're not going to have little brainless, little beautiful, cutesy things to entertain the adults. But you're going to have dark things that were human, things that were adult, to interest and hold the interest of the adult audiences, such as dark, very New York themed, very gritty, very surreal, and the surreal cartoons that I have here that I chose to show to you, they're going to amaze you. And they are slightly sexual too, because every time the animators felt that Betty Boop was scared or at an inopportune time, she would accidentally have her blouse drop. You'd see her bra. Nothing dirty, nothing erotic, nothing sexual, but that would be a thrill for cartoon audiences at the time. But Jerry Beck. Now, Jerry Beck is in California. Jerry Beck is known as the king of cartoon film history. But he wanted me to let you all know. Now, when you see these films, most of them that I have don't have the original titles that when they were first shown in theaters. They have UMNM TV titles. Now, if they're Paramount, why wouldn't they have the Paramount titles? Jerry wrote me to let you all know that when TV first came out, Paramount was asked by UMNM to show the films on television. Now, motion picture companies at that time really were against TV, so they really didn't want to say that their movies were being on TV. So they had to replace all these original titles. And for the most part now, unfortunately, most of these cartoons only exist due to the fact that UMNM released them for television. In fact, one of my friends who really started me into collecting and taught me everything I know, he would go to the dumpsters of the television stations, and when they were all changing over to videotape, the TV stations wanted to get rid of these huge space-consuming reels of film, and they put them in the dumpsters. That was the time to get them, and you got them out of the dumpsters. I had the similar thing happen to me at a college going out west, and but anyhow, I do want to let you all, I want to introduce you all to someone, because the last time she was here, so many people ended up contacting me via the internet or calling me up, or she stole my thunder, folks. So here I am being the good son that I am, and I am going to share my thunder again with my mother. Mom?
Yes.
Come, please. Say hello to your fans.
Hi, fans. I got so many fans, I don't know what to do.
Now, I've been collecting films since I was 8 years old, actual films on reels. And it's my mother who put up with all the hell I gave her.
Well, anywho,
Yes, please.
I'm gonna make this short because he's making it too long. I know everybody wants to see the show, okay? But thank you all very much for being so nice to me. I appreciate it very, very much. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm glad you were able to get here, I don't know how, by boat or carrier pigeon or whatever. But at least you all got here. And we're all very happy to see you all. Thank you very much.
God bless you. I love you very much. You see, I only had to pay her $20 to say all that. All right, let's go. Since I'm not going to be stopping each cartoon and talking, you told me, don't worry, I'm getting on with it. This is going to be the birth of Betty Boop. Okay, you're going to see her from her first indoctrination on the screen. Now, there's a lot of hell that went through with these cartoons. There were lawsuits. There was always trouble. Now, with this great creativity that went along with this. Now, with these dark, surreal, overly creative films, Paramount used to use these as publicity tools for what their studio, the big studio, Paramount represented. And what Paramount was representing was a songwriting music corporation. They were also doing 78 records, recordings at the time, but they also had active live stars who appeared before the cartoons and the features in the theaters as live entertainment. Now this was all to publicize and increase the notoriety of what Paramount had under contract. So, in these cartoons, some of the people I've included today, you're going to see included live action with the animated Betty Boop. Okay, now one of those people, now you all remember Cab Calloway?
Sure. Yes.
I hear that's such a rousing yes. Doctor, what do you say? Yes, there you go. He's another silent one. So we're not showing silent films today. So Cab Calloway, Rudy Valley, he was like the big thing before Bing Crosby even. So he was the romantic crooner of that period, the very early 1930s. But this is also going to have you see that the Max Fleischer Studios also had the first interactive socially interactive films, and they were the screen songs. The screen songs, you could sing along with the bouncing balls. Those same songs, Paramount had being sold in their publishing company. So that was another way of publicizing the music. So I want you all to do what they're going to be asking you, or follow the verse, especially you, Doctor. I want you all to sing along with the bouncing ball and really show what it was like for the first interactive cartoon human being medium. All right? Now, like I was saying, I was honored to meet the last living animator. His name was Myron Waldman. And Myron Waldman, when I was doing my first homage to the Max Fleischer cartoons, he leaned over to me and said, "Where the hell did you get these things?" I mean, in a very New York way, the guy was the greatest. I'm still very good friends with his wife, who lives in Wantor, Rosalie Waldman, and their son, Steve Waldman. Great, great, great people. So here you go. Just to give you a listing now. The first cartoon you're going to see, one of the first time Betty Boop came out. And she was going to be the girlfriend to the dog character of Bimbo. So, being a dog, they had to give her ears. Soon after that, they stopped using the ears. Next, you're going to see a very surreal, dark cartoon made by the Fleischers, Bimbo's Initiation, followed by another very Depression-era any rags. Then I've got film footage of Rudy Valley and the voice of Betty Boop, Mae Questel, where Mae Questel is actually dressed and appearing as the cartoon character she gave a voice to. And she's singing, "Don't Take My Boop Boop Badoop Away." All right? Now we have a young person in the audience, so I'm not going to say what exactly that song is supposed to mean. But in the cartoon that it came from, Boop Boop Badoop, which follows that live clip, the big circus master wants to have his way with Betty, and she says, "Oh, you're not going to take my..." Oh, boop, 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 boop. Okay, there you go. Now, that was my very blatant hint. Next, we're going to see Minnie the Moocher. What's great about Minnie the Moocher? It was Cab Calloway's theme song, but in the cartoon, and it's just Cab Calloway's voice as a cartoon character, but Max Fleischer created rotoscoping. Rotoscoping was where you actually filmed the live person performing, and you then transferred the image to paper and animated it one frame at a time. Next, we're going to see Red Hot Mama, which was banned in the Orient, in the Asian countries, because it really showed very much they gave a musical aspect to Hades, hell, in other words. Because in that cartoon, Betty Boop goes down to hell and is trying to be seduced by all the Satans. All right, then we have Ha Ha Ha, Ha 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 Ha. Well, at least I'm laughing. Ha Ha Ha, which is a cartoon that shows that Max Fleischer used not only animated animation, you're going to like this one, that he showed actual live human footage interspersed within the actual cartoon. Popular Melodies is by Arthur Jarrett. Now, do any of you remember Arthur Jarrett?
Yeah.
Carol, you probably dated him. Anyway, so, Popular Melodies is one of the first screen song, but in it, you're going to see the Arthur Jarrett. He's going to live draw Betty Boop. She's going to come to life, and then you're all going to follow the bouncing balls, especially you, Doctor, and you're going to sing along with the bouncing ball, her theme song. Next is the Dancing Fool, and then another Cab Calloway, Snow White, then a Rudy Valley Melodies where you'll follow the bouncing ball again. But then, to end the 90 minutes, is A Language All My Own, animated by Myron Waldman, the greatest of the Fleischer Betty Boop cartoons. Thank you very much. Sorry I talked so long. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I open up the doors to another Movie Man's Movie Matinee.